It's my honor to be asked, and it's also my pleasure to be at GMC, but an honor to speak at the honor. I admire you, I respect you, and it's wonderful to be here with you. Duty, honor, country, above all. My understanding of these words was the result of many influences in my life, the most powerful of which was, not surprisingly, the values that my family, and particularly my mother, lived by. These influences converged early on at the point that I first sought to enter this great institution here. They crystallized in my witness to the efforts of my mother to make this possible in the first place. The simple reality was that we don't have enough money to send you that you have uniforms, a necessity for my attendance. My mother asked around and found 3 used ones, which she was able to disassemble, recombine, alter, and patch, enabling me to have 2 complete uniforms with which I could go to GMC. But she went even further to help me with my success at GMC. She changed her job assignment at the State Mental Hospital to work in the laundry room at a lower pay so that 1 of the 2 uniforms could be cleaned every day. In my senior year, before school started, she wanted me to have at least 1 new uniform for special events. However, we still didn't have enough money to afford such a luxury. So my mother and I went to one of the local banks to apply for a small loan, $20. Instead of applauding my mother's initiative, the bank officer receiving her application berated her for teaching me the wrong values, declared that I should be taught to save rather than going into debt, and heartily dismissed the very notion of making a loan under such circumstances. My mother was heartbroken, and tears outside the doors of the bank, but she showed a quiet dignity, not allowing this petty tyrant to stand in her way. Once again, she went and found the best old uniform she could find and rehabilitated it for my use. And so I was able to complete my senior year with something resembling a dress uniform. I was eager and proud to be able to complete my education, absorbing everything I could at GMC. But the critical lessons of character had already been initiated, even before I walked through these doors. My parents sacrificed in sending me here and fostered my understanding of duty. The honor of my family was at stake, and I would not let them down. Furthermore, when I saw myself in uniform, I might say quite a status for me at that time to come to Milledgeville. I understood that my very life might soon be on the line in defense of my country. My character would be tested as it never had been, and desperately wanted to pass that test. I did. My test would come soon. When I graduated from class of 1940, we were still at peace. But all that changed on December the 7th, 1941. On that infamous date, as you know, the Japanese attacked our naval base at Pearl Harbor, sinking several battleships, and we was off to war. But the Japanese had made one critical mistake. Our aircraft carriers were not as Pearl Harbor that day. The grievous casualties and material damage that inflicted on our country woke up a sleeping giant. Within days, we declared war on Japan, and Japan's foolish ally Germany declared war on us. They didn't know it yet, but they had sealed their fate. About 6 months later, at the Battle of Midway, America's counterattack began in earnest. And all of us were eager to get in on the fight. I had gotten training as a welder at a National Youth Administration training school and found work at a shipyard building Liberty ships. I was considered sufficiently critical to the war effort that I could have honorably deferred military service, but it just didn't seem to me to be the right thing. So I joined the Navy. I wanted to be an aviator, but the Navy determined that I would best serve as an underwater welder. I did what I was told and did it as best I could. I soon found myself in the South Pacific, 5,000 miles from home, with lots of people floating around in the same ocean, trying their best to kill me and everyone else, Americans. Let me tell you, that's the kind of situation that causes one to reflect on what's really important in life. My job was difficult and dangerous. I still suffer significant hearing losses and others from my experiences as an underwater welder. But I got off easy compared with some of my fellow sailors who died or were permanently maimed in the course of their duties. Nobody, however, had any doubts about their obligations with regard to duty, honor, and country. Not even those who were least likely to make it back. Let me briefly illustrate or say what I mean. I was assigned to a repair ship, and we happened to be working on some LSTs, that was landing ships that hit the beaches, where Marines who was preparing to make a landing in the near future on one of the islands that we were moving up. They were all sleeping around on the deck, among equipment anywhere they could find. One evening, a Marine sergeant had brought the men together and was addressing them all over the microscope, understanding one phrase that had been drilled into me since my childhood, was it was more blessed to give than to receive. I left out one paragraph of my remarks, but I may come back. There would be moments, he said, when some of them would be called upon to literally sacrifice themselves so that their fellow Marines could accomplish their mission. They were being asked to give everything they had in the service of a larger ideals, the future of America, the pursuit of freedom and the human rights, the liberation of the oppressed, and indeed the saving of civilization and unspeakable tyranny. And you may know something. A few days later, they did just that. They pulled away from our ship. They landed, and many of them were cut down, but they could even get on shore. But they did what they had to do. In the face of such self-sacrifice, one's own petty interest and concerns just don't seem so important. In fact, I think it was during my tour of duty in the Navy that our family came to truly understand one phrase, that was, it's more blessed to give than to receive. Thanking God for my survival, I came back in 1946 to the country I loved. I was determined to give something back in gratitude for my blessings. Having visited China and Korea right after the war, and having seen the grinding poverty and oppression visited upon so much of the human race, I had come to know how truly fortunate and blessed we were in America, and how fortunate has been my life. From modest beginnings, I became in turn a skilled craftsman, an international representative of the Machinists Union, a presidential appointee in 5 different positions, including Assistant Secretary of Labor, Special Assistant to the President, Secretary of Labor, National Director of the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, and most recently a private sector mediator, arbitrator, consultant, helping large companies get along better with their employees, their unions, and how we work together. Through it all, the core values of character that GMC built up in me, as in so many others who have passed through these halls, have served me well. If I had to distill it down to one concept that I have tried to use in guiding my life after GMC, it would be integrity. I have tried to live a life of integrity, and GMC quite thoroughly, although not without some difficulty, prepared me to do so. And the key to a life of integrity is honesty. More fundamentally, this means the willingness to forego illusions, self-deception, wishful thinking, and just plain lazy, fuzzy reasoning, and face the world as it is. It also means honesty in all of our dealings with our fellow human beings. All of our other virtues flow from the core value of honesty. Honesty with ourselves, with others, with the environment we find ourselves in. A life of integrity and one in which our virtues are consistent, not only with each other, but with the core value of honesty. In the crucial early formative part of my life, Georgia Military College forced me to deal honestly with myself, my talents, my limitations, and my nature of the world around me. At the same time, GMC built my character in other ways, provided me with discipline and an optimistic outlook, a moral understanding, and an appreciation of patriotism that would serve me well along the journey of life. And where did that journey lead? Well, I was only able to take a few college courses before obligations forced me to give up my goal of college and law school and becoming governor of Georgia, by the way. Yet I became an advisor to U.S. presidents and corporate titans. Oh, and by the way, I did manage to earn 4 honorary doctorates. So I ultimately got some higher education along the way. In any case, all the way above that path, the principle of character above all was in my mind, guiding me and onward and upward with the confidence that I could do the right thing by treating my fellow Americans with justice and dignity. In my work as a union leader, organizer, and negotiator, I always sought to fight for the welfare of employees, while also recognizing company managers was not evil and the company had to make a profit to stay in business and pay decent wages. In my role as a mediator and consultant, I sought to see both sides and also to act on behalf of the interests of the company, the union, and certainly my entire country, especially if a massive disruptive strike was the possible outcome. In my role as a government official, including as Secretary of Labor, I sought to influence policy for the good of the American worker, but to balance those sometimes narrow interests to get the interest of my nation as a whole. Given the injustice I had seen as a young man growing up in a segregated South and the terrible oppression I had witnessed during the war, I was determined to fight for equal rights and full opportunity for all of our citizens. In other words, in everything I did, I tried to integrate the values and the ethical principles I had learned at GMC. This is the essence of my life, is integrity. It doesn't mean your life will be easy, but it does mean that you can look back on it and be proud that you have lived it. It is truly the most precious gift I ever been given, was Georgia Military College. I will forever be grateful. I wish you all the best as you pursue your life, for which GMC has prepared you, and God bless you. Thank you very much.